What's going on, everyone? Welcome back along to the channel. The week is getting late on. That means it's time to get back into the groove of Super Rugby for another weekend. Round 14 is coming up in not very long time by the time you guys get to this, and we have 7 games to look forward to, so I'm going to be having a look through those by myself this week. Been far too busy to arrange guests, so unfortunately that's why we're late, and that's why we're guestless. But of course, we'll still be having a look at the 7 games, who I think is going to win, and of course, a little bit reasons why. Trying to keep this one short as it is so late in the week already, so hopefully a nice brief one this week for round number 14. But first things first, before we get into the action, let's take a look at what is happening on SuperBru. And straight away, you can see on the leaderboard here that there's one man at the top all by himself now. It is the Driving Maul who has regained that top position, number 1. Although he hasn't got the yellow cap. That is still mine, I might just add. So let's go on. He is sitting still at the top. It does look white, but it is really yellow. Look, it's because I have bright lights. That's why it looks white. But look, seriously, it's yellow. See, it's yellow. So it is yellow. Let's go on. He's sitting up the top, the Driving Maul, though. And still sitting in second and third is Smarty Highlanders fan and Antipodal 49er making up the top 3. We got on Davis, though, and 3 Crowns 1 starting to make their way into contention. The lead, though, for the Driving Maul is looking nice. He's almost 2 points fully ahead of that second spot. It's a long way down. It is a long way down before we find where my picks are. And then they go down 35th. I mean, 35th is all right considering I had a really bad week. Really bad week. Didn't get many rights, but still went up 3 places into the mid-30s now, which is really, really good considering a few weeks ago I was sitting in the 50s. And speaking of those 50s, where is he? Oh, Brett Hartley. Brett Hartley. You can call my hat white, Brett, but at the end of the day, you're still 46. You've gone up 7, though. You've had a really, really good week of picks. We're right up there with the best of them from the round as well. So Brett's come up nicely. We see Magpie is just above him, falling down 10 with the wooden spoon. So not a good week there for Magpie. And amazingly, the yellow cap winner, the other yellow cap winner, is way down in 63rd. Crusade on, doing it hard, but obviously must be new to the league. But good work, picking up the yellow cap way down in 63rd and only moving up a couple of spots. But the only way is up from there, and the rest of them not looking too good. On to the other competition, we are running the fantasy team. I don't think I'm ever going to get a yellow cap here, but it is still the Sneaky Toilet Actions who are leading the way quite comfortably as well. 11 points over B Commentary's Giant Philanthropists, who have dropped actually down from top spot, although it doesn't say the Toilet Actions have actually moved up, so bizarrely how these tables work. Magpie's best 15 have moved up 2 over the Blues and the Mules into 3rd spot. It is heating up there between those guys. Look at those points. There's a couple hundred in it between 1st and 6th, to be fair. And then we have the yellow cap winner, the other one, obviously not this one, in 7th with the Exquisite Kudos. I'm not familiar with what they are. Someone will let me know what they are. But a great round there by Johan's team to, well, he only went up 1 spot. But I guess that's what happens when you're at the top. It's not much of a big deal, is it? Let's see where the All Flakes sit. Wow, 31st. We're doing all right. I find it hard to believe we haven't gone up positions looking at that. But 31, I'll take that nicely because our biggest competition, there they are. The Western Sharks, they're 34th. So definitely right on our coattails there. The Southern Barbarians, I like that name. Very, very nice team name there from Logan, the coach of that side. Right, other teams of notes, I don't see too much happening down there. Of course, the chump at the bottom, who hasn't made his picks, gets the wooden spoon every week. Well done to you, sir. But that is a little insight there. Straight away, we've got the SuperBru leaderboards up and done and dusted, and the yellow cap still firmly right at home here. Oh, it's comfortable, isn't it? Oh, it feels so nice to wear the yellow cap. You know, you just don't know what you've got in life until you've got yourself a yellow cap. Other things you're going to look forward to before we get into the round of matches, of course, yellow cards in round 13. We had 7 additional cards to our tally, which puts us nicely into the 63 total cards, or total yellow cards now in the competition, where we still, well, quite far behind 2017, where we were currently sitting on 106. So a long way to go before we get to that tally. Of course, round 14, we have 7 games coming up this round. The Rebels are the one team on the bye, and let's get into it. Let's start having a look at the teams involved in round 14. Okay, so the yellow cap is getting, it really is yellow. I mean, the lights don't do it justice. The yellow cap is getting thrown away, so we'll be having a look at the matches without the cap. I mean, it's only when we SuperBru related that we're going to be using the luck of the yellow cap. 7 games to go through, so let's get into it. I'm not going to go on for huge amounts of time about these games this week. It's late. We're already going to get this out as soon as possible for you guys to get my picks into, well, your hands. So if you want to copy them and do yourself no favours for the weekend, you're more than welcome to do so. It all kicks off in Westpac Stadium in Wellington, of course, where the Hurricanes are up against the Reds. Now remember, the Reds actually lost, yep, the first team to do it this year, to the Sunwolves. Now, that's not anything close to even form or even a decent result at all, being the first team to lose them in the season. So when you're going off that, coming up against, I mean, some would argue the best looking side in the competition so far in 2018, the Hurricanes, and it's an away trip for you as well. No one's really going to be picking the Reds for this one, are they? They've done some great things, the Reds, but they've also done some shocking things this season as well. And I mean, when you get absolutely destroyed by the Sunwolves, 63-28, I'm afraid there's no hope. There's just no hope for you at all. The Hurricanes, I mean, they just look good. They destroyed the Blues when the Blues actually looked like they were having a decent match as well. That one was 36-15. And that was at Eden Park as well, which really tells you something about how this Hurricanes team is going. They've got players who normally carry the ball, doing kicks. I'm looking at Laumape, the way he played as well. But we're looking at the squads as well. Because we're doing it so late, it's nice. We can have a look at the teams actually named. And looking through this Hurricanes team, there's very little that's actually changed that could weaken the side. In fact, the few changes they have made, which I think they've made quite a number as well looking through it, but the changes they've made only strengthen it. And I'm talking about the likes of Perenara returning. We've got Jordy Barrett starting at 15. They do have Umaga Jensen starting at 12, which is probably going to be the most interesting factor to come out of this match as well. The second row looks strong. Fedelo for Lousy. Prinsep gets a start on the blind side of Vardy Xavier and Blade Thompson. The rest of the back row. That is a solid looking pack. And against a team like the Reds, who I have considered throughout the season to be a very good forward pack side, I just don't think they're going to get much to really attack this Hurricanes team on. The Reds will hold it up at the pack. They'll probably do a good job around the field if they play at their best, if the pack recycling their ball. But it's the back line. I really liked the Reds team when they had young Stewart at fly half and they had Jono Lance out the window. Lance has come back onto 10 and they've got Stewart back at fullback. Good little player, but I do think he involves the team and does spark a bit more from 10 than what we've seen from Jono Lance. Anything, I would probably swap those two back the other way, put Lance at fullback and have him coming into the line to cover and just allow that bit of depth within the team. I think a young player like Stewart is going to concentrate fully on playing fullback well and doing that job solely as his responsibility, which means you're not going to get that player coming in and allowing a bit more to happen through swapping over those first receivers, which I think we should see if we had Lance doing it from fullback, but they're not going to go that way. It's still a very, very decent backline, and you've got Duncan Pauala in there and Samu Karevi there as well. And Dungunu has been pretty good for the Reds this season. A bit of a no-name guy, but he has come quite good this year for the Reds. A bit of an X-factor asset for the side that has lacked a lot of that. And when you see guys like Aiden Toa and Parise on the bench, those guys are pretty much guaranteed starters for the Reds, and they've been knocked out by the likes of Dungunu and Stewart as well, which I really do like having the Stewart kid in there. I just think he offers a bit more in the way of sparking this backline we've seen from them when he was at 10. But you got to say, it's a hard job, no matter who you put at 10 for the Reds, because they're up against Bowden Barrett, Ben Lamb, Matt Proctor, Nehe Milner-Skudder, Jordy Barrett. You can put that backline in black. and bar Umanga Jensen, you'd probably say that's a highly likely situation we may see later. Proctor, maybe a bit lucky if he does get there, but regardless, you know where I'm going with that point, that it is a star-studded performing backline that is playing in the yellow. I expect them to fully demolish the Reds this weekend in our Friday night kickoff match, our only Friday night match as well, which is a bit of a shame. We've got a full house of games on Saturday, but yet only the one on Friday night. So, alas, we will go on, and for the result, for my pick, I am going the Canes to comprehensively win this one. I'm going by 17, but I think it could be a lot more, or a lot worse if you're a Reds fan coming to the Cake Tin and trying to do something against one of the best looking sides in Super Rugby. That is Friday night done, very quickly, very easily, but it is Saturday. We were off to Hong Kong, and try not to make too much of a hash of this, but Mong Kok Stadium in Hong Kong, I mean, I don't have that Asian kind of twang to it, but even still, Hong Kong. Now, a lot of debate over why the Sunwolves are actually going to Hong Kong, if they should be, all that sort of stuff. But, I mean, the Sunwolves are a team that like to grow the game. And, I mean, it's good and it's nice to say, yeah, go to Hong Kong, go to Singapore. But that fan base that they have at Princess Shibu Stadium is amazing. And it is a really good performance that they've had there. And it is a really good fan base that they've built there as well. It's hard to see them getting that same sort of support away from that stadium, but, you know, that's responsibilities of the team. They're taking this away on the back of their first win of the year, their only win of the year, and trying to back it up against the Stormers, who are coming to visit them. Now, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? The Sunwolves, yo, they finally won a game. Is this the turning point we see from the Stormers, like we see from the Jaguares? You know, they finally started winning, and they can't stop now. But they're coming up against the Stormers now. Stadium is one factor to put into this. For both sides, the fact that the Sunwolves aren't playing at Princess Shibu Stadium and the Stormers aren't playing at Newlands. Obviously, neither side really likes travelling away, and I say that in a weird way because the Sunwolves technically are still at home, but the Stormers, we know, do not like going away from Mum's cooked dinner and their little comfy sheets on their bed as well. So this is a bit of an interesting one because both sides are going to be not at their best, I'd expect, but there's really only going to be one winner here. I mean, the Sunwolves have done well. They have got that first win as well, which is great, but I do notice when looking at their team, they are missing out on the big man who performed very, very well in the win against the Reds, and that is Salmaki, who was just phenomenal. Scored, I'm pretty sure he scored 3 tries, blockbusting player, really hard to stop, and he just set that Sunwolves team alight. They call him the Tongan Godzilla. I mean, there's only one nation in the world that's going to call someone the Tongan Godzilla. I mean, we've got the Tongan Thor, we've got the Tongan Godzilla. What is this? It's going to turn into a cartoon soon of rugby players. Wouldn't that be amazing? I should write that down. Really should write it down. Movie. Who wants to be in a movie? Everyone does. Sunwolves, though, they have changed things up. But the other man who really sparked this team alight with his kicking, Hayden Parker. Best game of Super Rugby I've seen him have, period. For the Highlanders or anywhere else. That was a star-studded performance from Hayden Parker. His best game in a Super Rugby jersey. Full stop, I think. He's got Tanaka starting at 9 inside him as well, which is very, very good for him. Those two, their partnership is probably one of the best, or no, not the best. It's probably one of the most experienced playing partnership, one of the most in Super Rugby at the moment. You'd probably say, like Piranara and Barrett would rival that, of course, yes. But for players of such different backgrounds and playing experiences, that is something that the Sunwolves need to cherish at 9 and 10. The backline has changed a little, but their midfield partnership returns again with Michael Little and Lafayette, who I think are two of the standout players in Sunwolves jerseys. It's how those guys outside him, Yamada on one side, Fukuoka on the other for the Sunwolves. Looks like a dangerous combination, but whether they can put those combinations into point, likely seeing them last week with Salmaki, that is going to be the interesting point. I think this pack looks probably at its best here, in my opinion, with Leach at blindside, Quirk at open side, and Willie Brits at number 8. I think that's the best just about they can come up with, because it's been an area of their game where they have been quite strong, but it's been a lot of reliance on those sort of guys. There is no Labasage in there as well, which is interesting because he's been a real standout, and I guess great depth as well for the Sunwolves to be able to call on those sort of guys who are performing exceptionally well for their team. We haven't talked about the Sunwolves at all here, so I'm going to go on them a little bit as well. One big omission from the side, and that is Willemse, who is not starting at 10. Du Plessis will be getting that start here today. There's no Willemse on the bench or anything either, which is going to be very, very interesting. I can understand, though, they're going to play the Sunwolves. They've seen them beat the Reds. They've gone, nah, no matter, man. No matter. We'll just go there and beat them anyway. Which I guess is great confidence. Still got Duvanaka inside him, which is going to be great to have it there. Dylan Lade's on the left wing. I mean, you look at this back line. Dylan at inside centre. Engelbrecht at outside. They've even got Sinatler in the team. The 7 superstar starting on the right wing. And, of course, Cespe Morea starting at fullback for the Stormers. The back line looks really, really good. And I think if Willemse had this, he'll probably run riot. But it'll be interesting to see how Du Plessis can compare to this young gun at the Stormers and see maybe they've got some good depth there in the number 10 jersey, which is what they will like to see. Now, the pack, I think, is going to have a good game here for the Stormers. I think they can really control this match as well. When you look through the players they've got, you've got to say these guys will dominate as well. The back row, very strong recently. The whole pack, I mean, I'm not going to really stand out too many players, but Samuels and Lowe, the hooker and tight head prop have been exceptional for the Stormers throughout the season. Those guys should be far too good for the Sunwolves pack alongside Janssen van Rensburg starting on the loose head side as well. So that is, you know, a very good front row into a front row for the Sunwolves that really isn't up to that top tier standard. So that is an area that I think the Stormers could really control, get it through the pack. The back row, that is going to be a really interesting matchup when you've got Van Dijk, Weiss and Carr up against Leach, Quirk and Brits. So who gets the nod there could control the open play of the game. Of course, we've got back row, very good for the Sunwolves, but it is a very powerful back row. It's not a quick back row as well for the Sunwolves, which is going to be key to this style of play. Probably won't control the breakdown as much as they will with getting there first. They'll control it by probably overpowering what the Stormers can offer. So that's going to be what I'm going to be interested to watch in this matchup. And of course, what backline we get. I'm going to pick the Stormers all day long. We have far too much power for that Sunwolves side. So Stormers all the way for me, but it could be interesting. It could be close. So I'm going Stormers by just 6. Okay, moving on to our third match of the weekend. It's the Blues at home at Eden Park. They're up against the Crusaders. And first thing I've noticed about this match, straight away, one man missing that is instrumental to any team he wears a jersey for, and that is Sam Whitelock, who is missing Quinton Strange coming into partner Scott Barrett in this second row. But, I mean, you look at this Crusaders team, goodness me, it's almost ridiculous, isn't it? You look at that front row, Perry, Taylor, Franks, Barrett and Strange. I mean, Quinton Strange has been very good, I think, in the rare appearances he's made off the bench and starting an injury cover as well. I think he is a very, very good Super Rugby player. At the standard, for the experience he's had, I think he's shown himself up very, very, very well. Bedwell Curtis will be at 6. Todd Taufua, Hall, Moanga, Bridge, Crotty, Goodhue, Tamani, Valu and Havili. It's not fair, is it? I mean, it's really not fair. Very few teams rival the star-studded 15 that side can put together. But you look at the bench as well. Crockett's back. Alatoa, who's been talked about for All Black honours possibly in a few days' time. Of course, you got Samu, who's a regular starter. Drummond, who really does share that scrum half duties. Hunt's probably not his best, but Mataele, I mean, this guy's scoring tries for fun, yet he can't break into the starting team of this Crusaders side. That tells you one thing, this team definitely has quality. And, I mean, they're up against the Blues. Now, the talk about the Blues is more off the field than on, is it? Tanaru Mangahill, he's going to be coaching them for another year, and he's got Leon McDonald. Now, I don't know. I mean, I haven't probably talked about it too much on this channel, but I am no fan of Leon McDonald from way back when. Not a fan of him at all. Not to do with his coaching, more of not a fan of his playing career. So, what can he add to the Blues? I mean, he had a good little stint at Tasman, so that's one thing. But we're not really going to talk about him here because he's not going to affect this game whatsoever, is he? So, looking at this Blues side, very good. We've talked about it already. When we look at it on paper, you'd probably say just about, you know, in certain positions, they could match up to this Crusaders side. A very good front row. Puliasi Manu, James Parsons, Ofa Tuanga Fasi. Those guys have all played at this level a lot, and a lot of them as well at higher level, which means and tells you one thing, is quality. But why does the scrum perform so averagely for the Blues? Kelly Toyoti, I think, has been one of the great finds over the last 2 years for the Blues. Solid second rower that it really is almost a certain pick in this Blues team as well as he goes forward. He's got a locking partner in Martin, who I haven't seen too much about this kid, so interesting to see what they get out of him starting in the second row. So that means Tuipulotu is out of the team. Kono starts, and then Kiriwani at 8 as well. So, there's a bit missing there in the back row with Papali'i starting on the open side. Whether he can stand up to what Matt Todd and Jordan Taufua is going to offer is going to be the big test here for the Blues. Really liking the Blues halves combination. Augustine Pulu and Stephen Perofeta, I think, have been really, really good. Pulu really added a lot last week when he came on. When he started, when he came back into the team, he added a lot of spark, a lot of energy. Probably, I think the thing he really added was a lot of control, a lot of direction to the team, which they really, really needed. You could say a lot of that, Sonny Bill Williams as well, gave them a lot of direction through the midfield. So those two guys returning has definitely changed things for the Blues. Good enough to beat the Crusaders? I really would not think so whatsoever. Another interesting thing about this is how they swapped Rico back from the right wing to the left wing again. Yeah, I mean, that was just a talk starter, wasn't it? That was just are the All Blacks thinking of playing Rico Ioane on the right wing? Is there something more to this than just the starting lineup? I mean, let's be fair. He's a left winger. I mean, he was invisible last week, wasn't he? Didn't see him at all. So, I mean, how will he compare this week? Again, against a very good side, the Crusaders. He is going to be tested how good this guy really is. Sonny Bill will talk about him, but I am very impressed with Rini Ranger 2.0. That is Ledger starting at 13. So, Auburn Ledger, I think his name is. Very impressed with this kid. I think he's come along quite nicely with the re-addition to Sonny Bill returning from injury, because he runs great lines off people's shoulders. When you're playing with Sonny Bill, and I'm sure this is what he's been coached as well, you just follow him. Sonny Bill goes to the line, you just sit in an area he can go, whick, and flick you the ball. He did it last week. He did it very, very well too, and I think he had an outstanding game. So I'm looking for more of that for Ledger as well, and I think he could be a spark alongside Sonny Bill in that centres that is going to test Ryan Crotty and Goodhue in the midfield for the Crusaders. Milani Nanai returns to the Blues as well. Long time without him. He goes straight in on the right wing, and Matt Duffy, of course, goes to fullback. So you look for their Blues team, you say, yeah, I mean, that's not bad. That's not bad, is it at all? But you just know this team is not going to perform the level and that consistency that the Crusaders is, that tactical know-how, that nous that the Crusaders have. You'd expect them to usually get up over this one as well. And I think they're going to do it big too. The Blues have been pretty okay. It's hard to really describe the Blues as playing good because they haven't been. But they've been decent, and I think they've probably, they got that impressive, do you call it impressive against the Waratahs? They got the win. And then they weren't too disappointing last week as well. So you've got to back them up and say, they've had a couple of good rounds. It's going to all fall apart here for the Blues. Crusaders are going to trample them 23 plus for the Crusaders as well. This is really the big one next up here of the weekend. The Waratahs versus the Highlanders for game number 4 of the weekend. This one, of course, is at Allianz Stadium in Sydney. And it is the last side we actually have lineups for as well, which is a bit disappointing because it's always good to see how these teams are going to match up and what key players are going to be missing. So, unfortunately, we'll just have to wing the last 3 guessing at who's going to be starting these matches for those sides. But to Waratahs, Highlanders, another chance. Here we go again. Can they break the hoodoo? The Australians haven't won for so long. It's getting a bit old, isn't it? I mean, it was all fun and games, and then it's like, oh, now the ref, and I mean, yeah, it's all sorts of things coming out of Australia. We talked about the game last week against Crusaders. I haven't really talked about it, but yes, the late hits, the shoulder or the arm, the charge that ultimately led to a try from Moody. I'm pretty sure it was. Of course, he's missing from the Crusaders as well, obviously. Didn't really talk about that. But, yes, it was bad. No one's arguing. Yes, the referees missed it. Yes, it should have been pulled back. Red card? Not going to go that far. Yellow card? Yes, should have been at least a yellow card. Would it change the match? I mean, no. Let's look at it this way. The Crusaders went into that match, and they did something for 20 minutes, which, I mean, I don't know why or how or who instructed them to do this. How this was part of the game plan to kick the ball constantly back to the Waratahs. I mean, if there's anything this Waratahs can do is run from open space. Structured play, they're pretty average. But things like that, open play, with a player like Folau and players who can, do things with open space when the ball is in behind some fractured defence, that's when they can do trouble. They did do trouble, and full credit to them. Yes, they played very well to get in that position, but let's be fair about it. They were gifted that position to no end because we seen a big switch like that where the Crusaders just said, that's it, no more. And how many times did they kick that ball down the throat of Waratahs players after we had that final scoring play by the Waratahs? I can't remember any. And if there was any, it was very, very few. The game changed. The game plan changed. Waratahs would kick off. Crusaders would just hang on to the ball. And they'll hang on, they'll charge it, they'll break the line, they'll make the way up. They'll do things with ball in hand. Game plan changed. And if the Highlanders didn't watch that and go, that's what we need to do. Just don't kick the ball to Folau. Don't kick the ball to Foley. Don't kick it to Nairavara, although he is an oil tanker and he takes an age to go around. So, okay, kick the ball to Nairavara. But, there's guys there, Curtly Beale. They can break a game open from fractured play. And that's what they'll do. If you give them that chance, they will do it. And they're a good enough team that if you do it to them for 80 minutes, they will smash you. But if you restrict the ball from them, if you hold it within yourself and really just build your way forward, their defence is not good enough. They don't have that mental fortitude to hold a team out. And that's where they're going to fall apart here. But I look at that game and say, why? How did the Crusaders do something stupid like that? And, who said that was a good idea? Most people would know that is a stupid idea. Was it a game plan? I mean, it's hard. You don't say anything silly like that. I think the Crusaders would have been happy to go and say, we'll beat them 40-0, as opposed to, let's give them 29 points, then we'll chase it back. Highlanders can't do that. That's the one thing. It's going to decide this game plan from the Highlanders. Kick the ball to the Waratahs, they will have a chance. 100%. Don't kick the ball straight down their throat, and you'll clean this game up quite easily. We know they've got the runners, they've got the pack. Give it to some of these big guys. Inside your 22, charge it up. Give it to the Dixons, give it to the Homopos, give it to the Leonard Browns, give it to the Lomaxes. Even give it to, Rob Thompson. He's going to charge it through the middle. Ben Smith will have a go. These guys just need to hang on to the ball, hold the ball. If you're going to kick, you've got to kick it away from certain players. You've got to kick it to open field. You've got to chase 100%. You can't allow the game to get too open. Although the Highlanders like that, they have to force the Waratahs into kicking to them. They have to run it back at them. It's an area of the field. Can't make mistakes. Can't kick the ball to open space and give them chances like that. You've got to kick it away from players and open space. By I mean two players in open space. If you kick it to open space, find the grass, that is a lot better option. But you've got to chase. You can't give them time to set. You can't give them time to cut angles. You've got to hit them straight away. Ball in, bang. That's a tackle. That is a game plan. And I think as long as the Highlanders do that, they'll take this one out quite easily. Because they are a good side. They like going to Australia and beating teams. We've seen plenty of playoff games in Super Rugby where the Highlanders go over there and they knock the Brumbies out. They've done it before. They'll do it again. They'll knock the Waratahs out as well. They've done it plenty of times before. But this one could be decided by tactical play as well. Of course, what have they got in their team? Pretty much as good as it gets as well. Clark has really made a name for himself on that wing for the Waratahs, but he's going to be up against Nabura, who has looked pretty good actually. He had that real, what would you call him, a bit of a sugar high debut game, and he's come back and he's been quite solid. Naholo's got the start on the right wing. Tavitali's on the bench, which is interesting. Looking to make a big impact from him when he comes on. And Tompkinson will start, which is another one which is going to be interesting to see how he competes up against the likes of a Curtly Beale. So no Ty Walden in the match day squad for the Highlanders here. Tompkinson, be interesting to see how he goes there. Rob Thompson, though, should be another electric performance. Very good back row. Dixon, Hunt, Whitelock. We know that. The Smiths are there. Sopawangas are there. So it's definitely a team that the Highlanders can take over there and win. Will they, though? Depends on their game plan. Don't kick it unless you have to. If you do kick it, chase it hard. That is how you beat the Waratahs. And I'm going with them to do it as well. Highlanders by 9. Okay. So now we've lost the luxury of seeing who's going to be playing for these last 3 games. We've got the Sharks versus the Chiefs. And, This one's interesting because it is at Kings Park in Durban. And when you look at the performances as well, the Sharks, they went down agonisingly to the Bulls in Pretoria, which is no shameful thing. The way they've been playing. You've got to think the last time the Sharks played at home, they thrashed, and I mean they thrashed the Highlanders. Now they're back there again, one little road trip away. I mean, some may not call it little. One trip away in South Africa still. And now to play the Bulls, tough game. They definitely made a match of it though, but the Bulls too good in the end. Against the Chiefs now, this Chiefs team I think defied a lot of odds to beat the Stormers last weekend. It was a very low-scoring affair though, 15-9 in Cape Town, Newlands. Now, can the Chiefs back it up? We've seen the Highlanders do this. They really had to fight hard to beat the Bulls. Then they capitulated against the Sharks just, a week ago or two. Now we're seeing the same thing with the Chiefs. Are they going to have that hard-fought win against the Stormers and then capitulate against the Sharks? The Sharks are at home as well, obviously. Chiefs on tour. It's just hard to see these teams going and playing two really hard, grindy matches like this and pulling out that same 120% against them both as well, which is going to be the big thing for me. I just can't go away from home ground advantage for the Sharks. Chiefs, I'm surprised they beat the Stormers, especially at home. Stormers hadn't lost all year at home, and then the Chiefs go over there and beat them, and the Chiefs aren't that well of a performing match. So very surprised to see that result. I can't see it happening twice in a row. Just can't see it happening twice in a row. Sharks very good at home, as are the Stormers, but it's like we spoke about the Highlanders going over there. Big game against the Bulls. Couldn't get that same level of performance in the second week. I can't see the Chiefs putting in that same level of performance 2 weeks in a row either. Despite how well they played, things change. And now, as they go down to Durban, it's going to be the Sharks who put on the performance here, I think, as well. And a team like the Sharks, we know how they play, we know how they perform. They just got to get consistency. And I think the Chiefs definitely are the opposite. They've got consistency. They just struggle to play at their best level. Injuries, smashing this team, absolutely killing them. And we haven't seen the team they got either. So unsure there's going to be any big shocks, additions, or missing players for this matchup. Same goes with the Sharks. But as it stands right now, going into this game, based on previous matches, previous form, I've got to go with the Sharks. And I will be going with the Sharks by 3 points to take it out over the Chiefs. Next up, we're off to Emirates Airline Park. In Emirates Airlines Park, always miss that S, in Johannesburg. Lions are up against the Brumbies. Lions, finally, I mean, they haven't had much to celebrate recently, have they, the Lions? They did just about. Oh, did they just about? I mean, the scoreline was only 12 points, so they went down to the Highlanders, but they are finally back at home. It's been a long time, Lions. It's been a really long time. Let's just look at it. How long since they were last at home? The Reds, of course, where it all went wrong for them back in round 11. And then there was the Waratahs, where it looked so good, and they smashed them. And then before that, they had the Buys. They weren't even in action. And then it was the Stormers, which they thrashed in round 8. Round 8. We're now in round 14. That is a long, long time away from home. Round 9. I guess they probably stayed at home, didn't they? But then round 10, they were away to the Waratahs, then to the Reds, then they're away to the Hurricanes, then they're away to the Highlanders, now they're back home. What a road trip. What a road trip for them. Big thing is that they are back at home, so that's going to be a massive, massive deciding factor for me. And they're up against the Brumbies, who had to make the big trip over there after losing to the Rebels. Now the Rebels, the Rebels are on the bye, so it's a bit irrelevant about talking about them. But, they should never have lost that match, should they? The Rebels really had to fight hard to get that back, and that will be a real blow to the Brumbies as they head into this match as well. Because when you look at the Australian Conference, that would have changed things. If the Brumbies took that win, even, it would have been without a bonus point, they would have gone to 19 points. The Rebels would have been down on, what it would be, about 17 at that point. So, there's a game-changing. There's a game-changing turnaround match for the Rebels especially, who now go up to 21 as they sit now. And, of course, they are only 5 away from the Waratahs. They're on the bye. Brumbies going to pick up this extra match. If they win, it is game on again. But that's a huge turnaround. See, they could have been 4th. Those two sort of teams would have swapped places directly as well, which would have been huge in the Australian Conference going to that game. But, I mean, Rebels aside, focusing on the match here, Lions finally back at home, and I mean, they played pretty well against the Highlanders. They had a pretty decent match. Last game, the road trip, I expect them to be half on the plane, as we always talk about at the end of these tours. Teams mentally on the plane. They're going home. Back to the home-cooked meals, back to their own little comfy beds, back to their wives, families, and all that sort of thing. That is massive, but now they're back at home. Is their mind really set on rugby again after finally getting this road trip out of the way? The Brumbies, they're in town. I mean, this Brumbies side, after that loss especially, you can't expect too much from them going into this game. Recent performances from them have not been good. They struggle to score too many tries, which is a big thing they're going to really have to do if they're going to beat the Lions. I think the Lions are going to come out firing. Back at home, it's going to be like, yes, finally we're here. Finally we're back. Back at Emirates Airlines Park, and back to get themselves back in the groove as well, because they've been a bit slacking. Not being the Lions team we've known from the last 2 years. I mean, how many times we talked about a coach and all that rubbish. We're not going to talk about that here today. We're only talking the fact is the Lions are back. Home advantage. Brumbies don't offer too much in the way of point scoring. Expecting the Lions to go nuts here. Big game back at home from the home fans. Back to where it all started, where it all matters. And this is where I think, yeah, the Lions are really going to carve things up. Big name teams. I think the pressure is going to be kind of off on them, because it's a game that it's not a big match. It's not a decisive match. It's going to be something they're expected to win, and it's going to be something that is just going to happen. Players like Alton Yankees, we talk about him, big pressure player. He's not. This is a game where he's probably going to come into his own a bit. Play probably one of his good games of the season, I think, and lead the team quite comprehensively to a victory over the Brumbies. I'm thinking by 11 points as well. So Lions to do it. Just the fact of the matter is, Brumbies offer no attack. Lions back at home. Big game. It's a big game for non-big game players. So this is where they're going to really have a cracker as well. And yeah, like I say, don't expect the Brumbies to offer too much, especially after going all the way over to Joburg. And, you know, first game of their tour. Not going to be pretty for the Brumbies in Africa. Okay, we've got one match to go here, and, well, it's not gone on too long, but we'll wrap this one up here quickly, and it should be a nice little, you know, fairly brief one for Super Rugby. It's the Jaguares back from the bye, and they're up against the Bulls. Now, Buenos Aires is the home occasion for this one. Big news for the Bulls, though. Have been hearing no Lud Diaga. No Lud Diaga on the side for the Bulls. It's going to be a huge loss. Apparently, we're hearing he's out for the whole international season. He's out for a long time, which is going to be massive for this Bulls team, I should say, who will be like the Blues, and not feeling too well either. The Jaguares, of course, coming off the Tour of Dreams, isn't it? I mean, could that tour have gone any better for the Jaguares? Personally, no. They beat the Blues. Okay, we can let that one go. But they beat the Chiefs. I think that is the massive one. And to turn around with the Chiefs go over to Africa and they beat the Stormers, who haven't lost at home. I mean, it's that big triangle. I don't know if you guys have seen the picture on Twitter where there's almost a circle of life in Super Rugby, where everyone has beaten everyone in a circle that eventually goes round and back where it started. That is what Super Rugby is like this year. A lot more unpredictable. And when you look at a matchup like this, the Jaguares beating the Chiefs, who beat the Stormers, who hadn't lost at home, round and round and round and we go. It comes to this. Bulls on the road. Oh, I mean, this is going to sum this up for me. Jaguares form their lives by Bulls on the road. It's pretty simple. In games like this, you've just got to go home team. There's not much else about it. We haven't seen the team for this game, and normally you don't see it until, you know, the Friday or Saturday before it comes through. So this one, big loss with no Lud Diaga as well, is going to really hurt this team. And just playing away, I think the Jaguares are a team that can match the Bulls' sort of style of play. It's fairly similar. Jaguares like the big guys to run the ball. They like to offload. They like to play expansive. I mean, I expect the weather to be good there, but if it's not, that could really change the game. But I think these two sides are both well and truly adept at playing in those, or any conditions. They can change it up, they can mix it, they can do what they want, they can go forward base, they can do some nice stuff in the back line as well. But yeah, we're going to see big guys, we're going to see running, we're going to see hits, we're going to see offloads. That's what these two teams offer, but I think home ground advantage to one side and travelling to the other. So, you know, one likes to be at home, although the Hug Warriors win anywhere at the moment, but the Bulls especially do not like travelling, and that is what's going to hurt them, I think, going away to Buenos Aires this weekend. So, when you look at the table as well, pretty big game here, I think, for the Hug Warriors. Who would have thought this, 4 or 5 weeks ago, that they now sit 7 points behind the Lions on the table. The Bulls, who you look at and go, they've played pretty well this year, they're way down the bottom. And yes, to be fair, if they do beat the Hug Warriors, they could pass them if they pick up a bonus point. Or even on points differential, they'll pass them as well, because they are only -5, whereas the Hug Warriors are -47, the worst points differential in the African Conference. But this is big. If the Hug Warriors can pick up a win here, a game in hand as well against the Lions, this could make this conference quite interesting heading into these final few rounds. And furthermore, you look at the Sharks are on 23, Hug Warriors 24. I'm going the wrong way there. Stormers 22, Bulls 20. We can see a complete shift around. Hug Warriors could finish 5th. The Bulls could finish 2nd. Either way, you're probably going to say the Lions, although they did have a massive lead at the top, will probably still finish there. You look at the fact that the Hug Warriors have not picked up 1 bonus point. That is an area of concern, I think, for them. When the Lions have 7, that's almost 2 victories worth of bonus points. So the fact that the Lions have lost 6, they've almost picked up 2 in bonus points, compared to the Hug Warriors, who have lost 5 games, obviously game in hand as well. The difference of points is right there as well. So that is something that's going to hurt them later on in the competition. If they picked up 4 or 5, they'll be sitting 28, 29. This conference will be well and truly alive. And you've got to say the Sharks, their bonus points keeping them in it, just above the Stormers, who've only picked up 2, and the Bulls, who have picked up 4 as well. So this one could be set alight here by this game. Winner of this match will obviously really go a long way towards pressuring the Lions if they can't get it done at home too. So big repercussions coming from this game, but ultimately I do think that the Jaguars or the Hug... that the Hug Warriors are going to get this done and put the run further on the W's, which is superb for the competition. They needed this. And just Bulls travelling is going to be it. And you're going to come into round 15 and you're going to see possibly that the Lions and the Hug Warriors could be separated by less than a victory. How cool could that be? They could be sitting up there 28, 29. Lions don't pick up the win. There will only be 2-3 points in it, which would be just fantastic for the overall thing of this competition. The possibility that the Hug Warriors could get up and host a final or a playoffs game as a conference winner. I mean, who would have dreamed that at the start of the season? We were all talking about the Hug Warriors season being over about a month or 6 weeks ago. Now, they are well and truly in for a chance to put this up to the next level. So, that's probably hard talking more than head, but I just can't see the Bulls travelling well. And the Hug Warriors, in their form, they can keep it after the bye. They are well and truly in with a chance in this game. That does wrap up my preview for round number 14. I tried to keep it short, but you've just got too much to talk about with these games, don't you, as well? It's almost a review and a preview on the same sort of things. We look back and forward, but alas, that is the show for this week. Hopefully plenty of time for you guys to all tune in and see it before the matches start on Friday night. But if not, you can still watch it during the middle of the round and see how wrong my predictions were. Let me know in the comments as well who you think is going to win each match this weekend. Of course, I'll see you again next week for plenty more from the Super Rugby preview. Until then, thanks for tuning in and watching. Hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll see you for round 15. Until then, take care.